And I think that's really the fundamental challenge that Elon has been trying to navigate Tesla through as we move, not from just being a car company, but being this autonomous ride hail company.
My guess is they're going to focus on just getting more robotaxis out there. I think even today there's still only 11, if I'm not mistaken. We have tracked the license plates, and it looks like, and a lot more people like around a dozen more people got invited in the last week or so. Half of them not influencer types, just regular Austin residents. And it doesn't seem like they've spotted any new ones. So I think we're still at 11. So my guess is they should expand the actual fleet first south of Congress. And then once they get more miles, get more comfortable with it, then maybe they consider in a month or two to get rid of the safety monitors. But I think at that point, that's when they would expand north of the river. But I think for now, they just need to expand the fleet, get more miles in, get more rides in.
Gali, what do you think? What's going through your mind?
I feel like it's just so up in the air because Elon was talking about like hundreds of thousands or, he always making these crazy claims. But when the initial rollout happened, it felt like he wanted to expand like crazy fast. And then I'm trying to kind of combine that with our experience, which really did feel like a little bit more of like a beta. So I kind of am very curious. And I would say like my certainty is very low on what's going to happen. Like with Waymo, it took like 15 or 10 years and it was just so slow and incremental, but we know Tesla wants to go at a breakneck pace. So I think it's like a tandem move of if they can get rid of the safety drivers, expand that area just a little bit, then it could already actually be useful for a lot of people in Austin. Like when I stayed, it just happened to be my Airbnb and hotel. I had two different places to stay. We're both in the Robotaxi zone and like all these cool places were in the Robotaxi zone. So I think it will actually be useful to Austin residents on like the next expansion and then really become like a truly commercial thing versus more of like this beta with Tesla people thing. So I'm kind of waiting for that, like it to cross into like sort of truly commercial territory.
Yeah, I will throw out one anecdote. So I was at Capital Factory yesterday. So for those that don't know what Capital Factory is, it's basically it's a combined VC firm / workspace place, and it's got 16 floors. And I was on one of the floors, and I heard somebody say, just a random person saying, "Yeah, Robotaxi. Like I have Robotaxi, and I could just go around South Austin." Just a random guy. So I don't know if maybe like we're getting more people. And again, this is one person. It could have been luck of the draw. It could have been 20 people that they invited, and we heard from 12 of them online because they're highly engaged. But I do wonder how many people are out there that have zero social media presence that are using the network downtown that we don't know about, because that sort of like perked up my ear a little bit. But it could have just been one guy out of 3. And it just so happened to be that.
It's hard to know because, people talk about this all the time that, only these certain people get it, but we don't know if the other people get it because they're not online. Right. They don't talk.
And going around, so far, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
The last thing is going around Austin when I was there is I was asking different employees at different places I was going, my hotel, restaurants and stuff. Hey, what do you think of the Teslas? And I talked to, I don't know, maybe 10 different people. One of them hadn't heard of it. Everyone else was excited. And they're like, oh yeah, it's cool. I heard they're trying to compete with Waymo or, something like that. So people in the area are aware, that this is happening.
I think based on what I've seen and a lot of people who have been invited in the last week that are just regular Austin residents, they've DM'd me and almost all of them signed up on Tesla's new Robotaxi sign up form. So my guess is just those type of people that would have seen that are sort of social media type of people and that would interact with us likely. So my guess is there isn't some large group, unknown group that never saw that sign up form that's been invited, unless it's like employees or other. I have seen some Neuralink employees get invited, some SpaceX employees, but outside of that, my guess is it is just sort of those diehard fans of people that signed up for the form. But most of the people that got invited initially were influencers and those type of people, right? And as we flew out, they didn't have as many testers around. So naturally, you got to invite more local people to continue to use the service. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough testers around, even though there's only 11 Robotaxis.
Did you guys have a chance to hail Waymos while you were in Austin?
I tried 3 times, failed 3 times.
Okay. Chris, you did?
I got 2. Yeah.
What'd you think of Waymo in Austin?
I took both of them with John, Tesla owner, Silicon Valley. And he said that the thing he said, which I totally agreed with, is it felt like FSD beta, like back in the day where it's just not as smooth. And I'm not trying to trash in Waymo. I don't want people to think that every time I talk about it, but just the fact
Chris hates Waymo.
If that's my only option, I would definitely use it over a normal Uber. But the fact is, if you do them back to back, especially the feel of the Waymo, it's much more jerky. The stopping, starting doesn't feel as smooth. And in my couple of drives, it did cut off one guy at an unprotected left, like the light turned green, and you should wait for straight traffic, but it just took off immediately. So we didn't almost collide or something, but it technically cut the guy off. Outside of that, it's not like it did anything dangerous or was going to crash or something crazy. It's just not as nice of an experience, especially if you look at it from a normal like consumer perspective of the infotainment you have back there that syncs with your cloud profile and all that. The Tesla overall experience, but also the driving feel was just far superior.
But would you still take the Waymo over just calling a regular Uber if you had a choice every time?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, I would for sure. We used them also a couple of times in LA, once or twice when we were in LA for the We Robot event, funny enough. But we would definitely pick that. I mean, the experience was so cool to have a driverless car, even though it wasn't a Tesla. Like, there's nobody in the driver's seat. It's interesting and fun and cool. And it's just a better experience to not, have to be courteous around the person driving you around. That's the way it is.
I have a scheme to throw out there. Pricing. I was just talking to someone in LA yesterday about how he was saying Waymo is usually $1 or $2 cheaper than Uber in LA. And he's my friend who's been taking it everywhere and just said they expanded and connected different parts of LA. So it's a lot more convenient. But in San Francisco, I think Waymo is a little more expensive than Uber. So I'm curious what you guys have heard about that pricing and what the next step is for Tesla. Are we keeping it at $420 in urban centers? How are they going to decide to price this? Because I feel like so much of it is up to them back at HQ of how much margin do we want to take? How many people do we want on? So I'm curious what you guys think of that.
Somebody want to go first? I have thoughts. I don't want to hog the.
I'm not sure we're going to see the real price for a little while. I think the 420 price is just sort of just to test the payment system. I don't think that's a real long-term price. Isn't Waymo close to or have already overtaken sort of Lyft's rideshare?
In San Francisco.
Yeah, in San Francisco. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. And did you say it was $1 cheaper in San Francisco or more?
San Francisco is more expensive.
San Francisco is more. Okay. LA apparently is a couple bucks cheaper. That's just what I heard. So I thought it was interesting.
So then that tells me people, even though it's a little more, it sounds like people prefer the Waymo service. So they're willing to pay a little more. So to me, the Tesla Robotaxi service is even better. So yeah, there you go.
So starting on August 23rd, share of gross bookings for rideshare services in San Francisco, Waymo went from 0% in August of 23 to nearly over 25% in April of 25, overtook Lyft, which went from about 33% to closer to 20%. And you can also see Uber is on a downward trend as well.
Look at that. It took 16 months for Waymo to overtake Lyft. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is pretty nuts. And then the pricing for the Waymo in that same area, Lyft is $1 cheaper than Uber, but Waymo's $5 more expensive than Uber on average.
And Waymo doesn't even have that many cars in their fleet there. Imagine Tesla when
exactly
way more.
And that's the eye-opening stuff, dude. Literally, Waymo is $6 more expensive per average trip, and so that's how much. That's 40% more expensive, and it's taking share. And this was a study for those guys and gals taking rideshare in San Francisco, and they asked, did you prefer the experience of Waymos versus a regular rideshare with a driver? Those are the people that are paying the premium for Waymo, and 70% said yes, 16% no preference.
This is a graph of introverts versus extroverts in San Francisco.
or it's a graph of people that just enjoy privacy. You know what I'm saying? And enjoy comfort. So it's that study for me solidified the idea that whoever has scale will win all the miles. Whoever has scale will win all the miles. Anyway, I don't want to derail the pricing conversation.
I would say I think that we're going to stick with this $4.20 price for as long as it's an invite only service, and probably somewhere around the same time that it is, anyone can download the app and use it. Then we might actually get to see what Tesla's strategy is for pricing. And, Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to watch their rollout. I think I'm kind of with Gali on, it seems like it could be 50-50. We could be marching ahead on some exponential path where we're doing 2x the fleet of cars like every month. Or it could be something where we're kind of in an extended period of making sure that we have ironed out all the bugs in the whole service, end to end, not just the cars and the driver and the technology, but all the other parts of offering the service and managing the fleet and insurance and all of those other things for a while, in hammering out all those bugs, and then start to do that scaling. But it does seem like it's going to be hard to really discover what are all the bugs that you're going to run into as you scale if you keep it too small for too long at the beginning. That there's a lot of those challenges that are only going to emerge with actually growing the service. So and yeah, I know that Elon obviously wants to scale. I think there's pressure that is put onto this launch with the Model Y by the production plans for Cybercab, that I don't think you want to turn on the manufacturing line for Cybercabs until you have fully de-risked the fact that you can go ahead and deploy 100,000 Cybercabs in the first 6 months of the production ramp. Because we've already been through these production scaling situations with Tesla where if you build out all the manufacturing capacity to do 1 million cars and you're only able to run 5 or 6 or 700,000 cars down that line, then you are literally burning cash at an insane rate. And I think that's really the fundamental challenge that Elon has been trying to navigate Tesla through as we move, not from just being a car company, but being this autonomous ride hail company.
Those are all excellent points. The pricing piece, and how they're going to create the demand for these things. I mean, one would think that after we saw that Waymo chart, why would Tesla charge any less than Waymo when Waymo's already taken away share from Uber and Lyft with a product that's far from perfect? Let's say that it does make janky movements. When we hailed the rides and got dropped off at Terry Black's, the Terry Black behavior is awful. It just drops you right in the middle of the fucking road, and you just got to figure it out. It allows people in the car that haven't hailed the car. We saw a situation, my brother and I, where literally there were people in the wrong Waymo. It's like, how did you guys get into the Waymo? And they literally got in, they got out, they went into a different Waymo. Then there were people that are trying to get into the Waymo, they were in the wrong Waymo, so they went to the wrong Waymo. And then this whole time, this Waymo is in the right lane, blocking traffic and encroaching on the left lane. And then cars have to go around. It's creating blind spots. People are honking. It's chaos. And that's allowed. And that was on a video that I posted. Legacy Media hasn't picked it up. Okay, cool. Y'all are allowing that. So it seems like Tesla should have a path.
If that was a Tesla Robotaxi, that would have been all over.
Oh, dude. It would have made it to the most remote, like village in some random country. It's like it would have made it to the aliens in a different universe. It's it would have been catastrophic, quote unquote, for Tesla. But it's like that's behavior that's it seems like the regulators are completely fine with. So if Waymo has that and they're charging a premium over Lyft and Uber in, let's say, SF, but let's say they charge as much as Uber, then they have a ton of margin built into that product. And so the question becomes, why would they give up that margin? Why would they want to do that when they're scaling, when they're trying to scale this business, and they're probably going to have a ratio of robotaxis to teleoperators that's not going to be super favorable for the next couple months to a couple years, meaning that, that they might have 2 taxis per operator. And if they have 1,000 robotaxis, that's 500 operators, and each of them is getting paid a salary of say 80,000 to 100,000 because of benefits, et cetera, et cetera. And then you got to employ them for the entire shift that the car is out there, which is going to be closer to 16 hours. So you need 2 people, and then you're operating on the weekends. So then you need, 2.5 people potentially covering. So it becomes pretty expensive pretty quickly. So the question becomes, okay, like why give up that margin? But then the flip side is, well, Tesla has a cash cow with the energy business. It's starting to become a cash cow slowly, but it's generating positive cash flow. You have a car business that's going to release cheaper models in theory here any minute, but they might delay it until after Q3 because of the big beautiful bill sort of moving that EV tax credit being ended much earlier, which is the end of Q3. So it's like, why release a cheaper car when the credit is ending? Just deplete your current inventory and then release a cheaper car. So there's all these variables going on. I think they'll just match. I think they'll just match Uber's pricing to start. I think they'll go, or they might go slightly below, maybe 5-10%, and be like, hey, we're cheaper than Uber. You get your own car. It's safe, super entertaining. You can change the AC, whatever you want to do.
Going super cheap would kind of squeeze out Waymo, because Waymo, obviously Waymo has a behemoth of a company and Google behind them with that generates $100 billion in profit a year. But Waymo itself is still probably losing a few billion dollars a year would be my guess. Yeah. We don't know their financials for sure. So if Tesla really undercuts them in pricing, that sort of forces Waymo to either keep their pricing the same and lose a lot of money or cut their pricing and try to be competitive. But that likely would result in them losing even more money. So this will be interesting once this actually gets up to scale for Tesla to see the two go at it.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting just to see what Google's, obviously there's the Waymo side of it, but like, what does Google overall decide that their policy is in this space? Because, on the one hand, you can think, well, it's just, not their core business and they've got big fish to fry, just trying not to let search get disrupted right now and completely lose their entire business model. But then on the other hand, like, I think that embodied AI in the real world doing economically valuable tasks is obviously a huge market that they are well positioned to compete in, and you would think that they would have the interest in competing there. And so, like, I can see business justifications on both sides for, let's abandon it and make sure that we focus on our core competencies and move forward, versus, hey, like, this is an area where we can't afford not to continue to have an iron in the fire.